it's still relevant. Okay? So, where do we really sit there and test for relevancy when we're looking at information where someone is talking to us, or we're actually learning here in school, or we're at work? What information or what beliefs are relevant to what we need to do or need to do right then and there? How can we test for relevance? And again, if you take a look at your handout, there's all these questions that you can use. Remember, questioning sparks thinking. It searches for information so you can take in, you can look at it, you can discern it, you can validate it as being either true or false. We're always can be learning if we ask questions. Learning stops when we don't ask questions anymore. We always ask questions because then what? We ask a question and we get information back. We look at it and we discern whether we want to believe it or not believe it. We've got to be able to ask questions. The next one is depth. Thinking that's deep enough when it looks below the surface of the problem of the information. Let me ask you something. Can anybody tell me why the Titanic sank? Hit an iceberg. Do you think that's really deep? I mean, yeah, right. It hit an iceberg. Oh, really? What do you think contributed to it? Did you ever take a look at what actually did that? Do you ever think for a minute that the metal that the Titanic was made out of was an inferior metal that when it hit cold water, it actually made it brittle? Can you think of the fact that number one is that the crow's nest where the lookouts were standing in, looking for icebergs, was at an angle that they could not see the iceberg until it was almost on top of them. But if they were on deck level, they would have seen it at least 200 to 300 meters farther out. Oh, now what am I getting into? I'm getting into what? I'm getting into depth. I'm getting more information. Do we do that when you study? Come on now. You come into class, you grab your Mr. Squeaky. You know what your Mr. Squeaky is? Your little highlighter. I start talking, squeak, 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 squeak. And you go home and go, oh, please, let me learn. Stick it on your head. Please get in there. Short-term random memory. And then what happens? Oh, come on. Come on. When did you guys have a test last? Anybody have a test here? Well, gosh, it's only the second week. Sorry about that. If I gave you a test on Friday, and a week later I pulled you back into class, gave you 2 pieces of paper, pen and pencil, and told you to write out the main topics, the most important pieces of information that was on that test and on that unit. Could you bring up the purpose? Could you bring up the information? Could you bring up the relevant facts? Could you bring up the implications and consequences and the point of view? Could you write, secondly, in detail and with relevance about that topic? So where does our thinking go when we're actually coming here and we're studying? Where does our thinking go when we sit there and we listen to somebody spout off about some supposedly report? Or that our loved ones look at us and go, I love you. Okay, well, that's really great. Well, how deep does it go? Oh, I mean, where are the relevant? How can you show me this? How is it relevant? Let's talk about this. Do we ever get really deep? We never do in our topics. We need to go into depth. Okay? If we're going to understand something, we need to ask questions in depth. Or all that we simply do is that people simply, again, do not have the ability to be able to look at stuff, especially in this world that is so complex. It is, ladies and gentlemen. I feel for you. This world has technology and it's extremely complex. You can't ride on the surface. You've got to be able to dig further and look for depth. If you're going to want to believe something and at the same time retain it when we're learning. Next one is what we call as breadth. Other perspectives. When we're working with people, oh my gosh, do we ever take a look at other perspectives? I didn't talk about this in the first session. Here, let's take a really easy one. You know, it's really easy to use social cues when we're trying to give examples on different intellectual standards, as well as the elements of thought. Okay? Here we go. You and this young lady are married. It's Friday. You come home with a brand new Ford F-250 truck and go, honey, baby, here's our new vehicle. You ever take a look at her perspective, her point of view? You ever take a look at maybe the legal point of view, saying, she looks at it and goes, honey, it's a really nice truck. How did you sign for that? Or better yet, did you take a look at her personal budget before you bought that $40,000 truck and see how it's going to be incorporated in there? Or how about this? How many people here believe in capital punishment? Come on, raise your hand up. Yeah, hang them high, right? Have we ever take a look at the other perspective? Why capital punishment should be? Oh, here we go. Let's get really touchy here. How many people believe in a fence being built on the border? So, can we look at other perspectives? Oh, here's a really good one. You ready for this? I don't know if you heard this. At about 1 o'clock, there's going to be 3 buses that are going to pull up here. Did anybody get that message? Okay, the 3 buses of Arab students are going to come in here, and they're going to actually, the college up in Austin got closed down, so they're actually busing them down here because we can put more people in the dorms. So they're coming down here, 300 Muslim Arab students. And I think the president's going to talk to you that at 8:30 and 11 o'clock and at 2:30, they're going to ring a bell, and then the Muslim students, wherever they're going to be at, they're going to pull the little rug down, they're going to say their prayers, and they're going to point to Mecca. By the way, no more breakfast tacos. There's going to be lamb's meat, curry, and I think a couple other things. And you're all looking at me like, oh, heck no! I want my breakfast tacos. Get those people out there. But again, too, here's the thing. If right now, let me ask you something. You saw a Muslim student, whether it be a female in a burqa suit, or you saw someone in Arab wear, what would instinctively come into your mind right now? Don't lie. We're already thinking this guy's a bomb-toting AK-47. We need to go out there, throw him in jail, and we never look at other perspectives, and we begin to build biasness, and we begin to build what? Racism. Because what? Our egocentric thinking, and we never take a look at other perspectives.